Not so breaking news, Brian Kelly officially out at LSU, and at this point, this channel is pretty much just going to be me reacting to fired coaches because it seems to be the only thing that's going on. Seems to be all that's happening this college football season. If you're new here, I'm Lucy. I make college football videos for funsies because some of us don't get the joy of being a bad college football coach and getting fired for $54 million. So this is how we have to make money instead. So please subscribe. This was another firing that was not surprising to me. Not the timing of it, not the actual act itself. Maybe the way it went down, because it seems like it was a really weird process. This is all according to The Athletic. Basically, the AD and the governor of the state of Louisiana, which tells you what we're working with here, met with Brian Kelly on Sunday following a 30-point loss to Texas A&M at home. I was at that game. Vibes were bad. Vibes were terrible. Suck that tiger. Not this time. So the AD meets with Brian Kelly, and he's like, it's bad, pal. I need you to fire the offensive coordinator. Not an unreasonable request with how LSU's offenses looked this season. Garrett Nussmeier is on the verge of death every single play. That offensive line might hate him. They were like, Brian, you got to fire your OC. He was like, okay, fine. I'm going to fire the offensive line coach too. And they were like, we don't want you to do that. We just want you to fire the OC. Well, no, I'm going to fire all these guys. And they were like, we aren't asking you to do that. And he's like, well, if you want me to fire the OC, I'm going to fire the offensive line coach too. I'm still a little confused on how this played out. Seems weird. And I guess they were so annoyed by the way that Brian Kelly handled that ask that they were like, okay, well, you're done. Allegedly, tempers were flaring, and they were like, that's enough. So theoretically, had Brian Kelly just done what he had been told, he could still have a job today. He could still be employed at LSU. But because he was pushing back against the AD, he is now unemployed, which was the direction this was going to go regardless. But it's a very weird way for it to play out. How the governor is involved, I believe it's because LSU doesn't have a president right now. And now LSU was looking for a head coach. What I really wanted to talk about today was not necessarily what went wrong with Brian Kelly. I actually think that's kind of rather a simple answer. And sometimes it is just the most obvious one because he didn't win a lot. That's a record that most schools would not have fired their head coach with. I think it was 36-14, 20-2 at night. Obviously, they've lost 3 out of their last 4 SEC games. They have not won double-digit wins in a regular season under Brian Kelly. There are reasons you would fire him that most schools would not make with the product that they have gotten. Obviously, LSU is a different standard. They expect more there. But I think it really comes down to the fact that you get grace when you're likable, and he's not likable. I mean, you could even look at the way the firing played out, where if he had just shut the fuck up and done what he was told, he probably would still have a job. But he didn't, because he is notoriously not cool, notoriously not fun, notoriously not nice. And LSU fans are crazy, but they're lovely. There's a different level of culture and community down there that Brian Kelly I don't know if he ever tried to be a part of it. I don't know if he ever wanted to be a part of it. I don't think so. He just was never going to be a part of LSU. He was looking at LSU as a means to win a national championship for Brian Kelly, not an opportunity to win a national championship for LSU. But what I think makes this so interesting was my first thought was, well, first, LOL, this is hilarious. Number 2 was, man, if I'm Florida and Penn State, I am pissed off. Penn State and Florida were sort of duking it out for that 1v2 spot for best open job. I actually think that Penn State firing James Franklin at the point in the season that they did was what pushed Florida to do that same thing, because Florida probably had the understanding that they would be the best job available this offseason. LSU is better than Penn State and Florida, and I think by a significant bunch. That is now the top job. So whoever LSU and Penn State wanted, even though for Penn State I think it's Matt Rule, and he would never go to LSU. I don't even think he'd be considered for that. You have to be like, we got to really, really hope that our top guy does not get the call from LSU. Because if LSU calls, you should pick up that phone. I think that is not just the best job available in this coaching cycle, but the best job available in college football, period. They have a great NIL. Insanely passionate fan base, which leads to a great NIL. They spend a lot of money. LSU is the only Power 4 public university in that state. They aren't competing with anybody else. And the state of Louisiana, great recruiting grounds. You got New Orleans right there. You can hop over to Houston, Doesn't take too much time. You have quick access to Texas, quick plane ride to Florida, plus you're LSU. Your name carries weight where you can go anywhere you want and recruit because you're LSU. So you got money, you got access to talent like nobody else. Your competition is not as strong in state, and there is a culture, there is a vibe. LSU is a notoriously cool university with a cool culture. LSU football, you think swag. That goes so far. Obviously, that's taken a hit with Brian Kelly. That's taken a big hit. We've seen those recruiting videos. We've seen them doing the dance and stuff. That got knocked down a peg. They're going to have to work hard to build that up. But still, LSU is at an advantage. It's a job that, like, you're not expected to win a national championship right away, but you probably should win a national championship within a couple years. And I understand that college football is different now than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago, but LSU still has the resources and will always have those resources. And even though, yes, you are in a weird position where if you're getting fired, the governor might be a part of those decisions, which is a very LSU thing to happen. But LSU gives you what you need to win a national championship. That's why Brian Kelly said he was going down there, because he was like, I can't win a national championship at Notre Dame. I won't get the talent. I won't get the resources. Well, Marcus Freeman took him to a national championship real quick. But you go to LSU, when the last 3 head coaches at LSU, Coach O, Les Miles, Nick Saban, all won a national championship. Obviously, Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time. That Coach O experiment went kind of funky, but because you're LSU, because you have that talent, you can win a national championship. It is a difficult place to be a head coach in the sense of the pressure, in the sense of the expectations. But it's an easy place in the sense of you're going to have everything you need. You are given everything. You have all the building blocks right in front of you. You just got to put it together. Brian Kelly could not do that. And so this hiring cycle now just got a lot more difficult for everybody else. Like Arkansas, just give Bobby Petrino the job at this point. I mean, you ain't going to have anybody else available. I think this is a really interesting sort of move for Auburn, for Florida State. You were competing with Penn State and Florida before, and you didn't feel good about that. Now you got LSU in the mix. This is a wild hiring cycle. LSU is the top job available. I don't know who they get. You know they're making a call to Joe Brady, as they should. You know they're making a call to Lane Kiffin, as they should. They should call Summerall. As for Brian Kelly, I am not super familiar with the terms of his contract, if there's an offset or not. I don't know, and I've heard they're sort of renegotiating things right now, so they're not having to pay him the full $50 million buyout, which is the second highest in college football history, and if they decide to get rid of his whole staff, it'll be $100 million. And I'm sure Brian Kelly wants his staff fired. He was more than willing to do it yesterday. I have heard a lot of conversation being like, this is Brian Kelly's end, like he's done. I just don't see that happening. With how many jobs are open right now, I think he gets a Power 4 job. And the one that is sticking out to me is a job that's not even technically open right now. No evidence to support why I feel this. Just vibes. He's going to Michigan State. He's going to Michigan State just because I feel like it. But I do think there's enough open jobs, and I think there's enough administrators and universities who care about winning enough that they're like, we don't really care that he's a piece of shit. Oklahoma State would probably make that call. I think Arkansas would make that call. I don't see him leaving this coaching cycle unemployed. This is one of the crazier coaching carousels we're going to see, and I understand that we say that every year, but this year feels especially crazy because it's not even November yet. It's not even November yet. LSU, Penn State, Florida, all open. Plus Oklahoma State, plus Arkansas, plus Virginia Tech, plus UCLA. And there's going to be more. They might run out of coaches. I don't know who they're going to hire. I'd like to throw my name in the ring. I can be bad for, I won't even charge you $50 million. I'll just do solid 10. But if you like this video, if you want to talk college football or hear me talk college football, the best way to do that is to subscribe, to watch, to like, to share. Also, if you're around Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this week, I'm teaming up with Homefield for the Shutdown Fullcast show on Wednesday. You can go find Homefield on social media and buy a ticket. Also be around Thursday too.